Hello and welcome to our program. I'm your host, Katie Jones, and today I'll be teaching you how to make your own doormat. You can customize it or put a fun saying and make it look fabulous. So I have a couple examples for you all today. The first one says, "Come on in." I'm still not ready. Haven't found anything as true as this doormat. And then I have another one, and it says, "Hey there" on one side. Hold on one second. It says, "Hey there," and then on the other side, as you're leaving, it says, "Take care." So, super fun, super easy to make, and I thought this was funny because I was thinking about Miss Congeniality, and when she says, "Well, how do you know if you're saying hello or goodbye if you put aloha and aloha?" I thought it was funny. Okay, so now we're going to get started. I'm going to tell you what you need for this program and show you how to do it. So our supplies for today would be a Coir doormat. I think it's pronounced Coir or something like that. But basically it has little fibers and it's kind of hard to the touch. It's kind of stiff, which is great when you're making it, and I'll explain more about that. And then you need Flex Seal spray or outdoor acrylic paint. And I'll explain the two different avenues. Highly recommend the Flex Seal, but I'll explain more. And then you need contact paper. This is to transfer the vinyl. I definitely recommend contact paper versus transfer tape. And then you need a Cricut or a Silhouette, any machine that will cut things for you. Or you can cut it yourself. I just prefer the Cricut because it looks really nice and neat. And then you also need a Cricut mat and tools. And then you need some paper, and I'll explain more about that. But basic computer paper is wonderful. And then you need masking tape, outdoor sealant spray, scissors, paint brushes, and a paper plate is fine. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to move my supplies over. So you also, if you're going to be moving your mat to spray it, which I highly recommend, either get a piece of cardboard or a piece of foam core, because that'll make it easier to keep nice and still as you take it outside to spray it, or unless you want to do it outside. But definitely take that with you, because if it gets moved around too much, the vinyl will move and you won't be as pleased with the results, and you'll have to fix it. Okay, so start with your doormat. So I have it lined up. That's fine. That'll just keep it stiff as I move it, and it's definitely helpful. Okay, so I'm going to take my tag off. And as far as mats go, you should not be spending more than $10 on a mat. This is an 18 by 30. I paid like $7.99 for it. I found it online, so there was like a minimum of $35, so I got some other stuff from that store that I needed, and it came like the next day. Excellent shipping. They also have it at another online retailer, but the sizes weren't really what I wanted. The 18 by 30 was perfect for what I was doing, and I think it's just a really good size. Highly recommend. So definitely don't spend more than $10 though. Okay, so I cut the tags off, and I kind of just want to like take a lint roller or some contact paper and get all of the little fuzzies off of it, just so that when I go to put my vinyl on, it'll stick a little bit better. So I'm just going to take a little bit of contact tape or contact paper and cut it. When I went to buy the contact paper, I looked it up online. I knew that they had it, but I wandered around forever trying to figure out where it was. You probably will know, but it's in the kitchen section with all of the rolls of contact paper that you can line your cabinets with. So I was looking all over this store and finally looked it up on my app, and I found it. They also have it online, but I wasn't patient enough for that. So I'm just going to take it. You can use tape too, but I had this and figured it would be a good way to get some of the lint off. So just take and move it around. Lint roller is fine too. You just want to get the basic junk off of it. That's the precise term for it. And definitely after you do this project, you're going to have these little fibers everywhere, all over your house. So you're going to have to vacuum once you're done. I know that when I got the box, I got a couple mats at a time. And when I got the box, all of the little fibers had gotten in the bottom of it and made a mess on my carpet. So just keep an eye out for that. So I know where it came from. And obviously, it was from this. Okay. So I think I got most of it off. Alright. So you would use a Cricut or a silhouette to kind of cut out your design. And you can look on Pinterest. There are so many things that you can put in a doormat. They're hilarious. But for me, I just picked something about a dog, of course. And I already cut it out. So now I'm going to weed it and show you how to put it on. When you're cutting it out for a mat this size, because it's 30 inches, if you do Cricut a lot, you know that the mats come in 12 by 12 or 12 by 24. So if you want it to be the whole size of the doormat, like my Come On In one, you're going to have to use multiple pieces and put them together. The way that I did that, and I'm probably going to offer a Cricut class in the future, so just make sure you're looking online if you want to know more about the Cricut or silhouette. But with that, I chose something that was in a straight line so that when I cut both out, I could take a yardstick and line them up on there, and then I taped them together and then put the contact paper on and put it down on my mat. So it looked very even and it lined up with one another. So for this one, I did not want to do two. So I just did like 12 by 24 and I made it the right size just because it was easier for my brain. But you can definitely make it bigger, and I do recommend taking up the whole thing if it's something like my Come On In one. So that's great. If you don't want to get that complicated, my Hey There, Take Care was just a regular like 16 by 6 or something weird. I'm not really sure. But that one I could fit on my regular 24 by 12 mat, and it was easier. So, and it was definitely 16 by 6 because I was able to do a 12, able to do a regular roll and then just cut it in half. So, pro tip on that one. So, I've already cut it out. It's on my vinyl. Now, there are a lot of different kinds of vinyl. And for this one, it's Oracal 813. Now, I'm not recommending that brand specifically. You can use a lot of different types of vinyl, and you can look it up. I know I got kind of confused when I looked at all the numbers. So 813 works really well, and then there's another one, and I have that written down on my sheet. But I can definitely recommend a few things if you ask me during the chat. But just look it up. Removable vinyl or permanent vinyl work well. Stencil vinyl is also awesome. You'll learn that it doesn't stick all that well to the mat, but this is very forgiving. So, I'll explain more. I'm going to go ahead and weed it and then get it ready to put on. And if this is your first kind of Cricut application video that you've seen, weeding is just when you pull out the vinyl that you don't need on your design and you leave the rest of it. So I'm just taking tweezers. There are so many different tools, but I think tweezers are the easiest. They fit my hands better, and it's just easier to use. And I always have them handy dandy. So right now I'm just pulling out the letters because that's what I want to be my design on my mat. Sometimes if you do different projects, you need the opposite. But for this one, it's pretty straightforward. I saw so many cute designs online, like come back with tacos, or to enter you need tacos. I had a hard time deciding between this mat, which says, no need to knock, we know, or I know you're here, sign the dog. A lot of times people have 2 dogs, so they say, you know, sign the dogs. But I also was deciding between this and I hope you like dog hair. Because I have a dog and her hair's everywhere. There's also one that says, the house was clean yesterday. Sorry you missed it, or something like that. There's one like the Emperor's New Groove, and it says, pull the lever, Crunk. I thought that one was pretty clever. Or as featured on MTV Cribs. If you used to watch that show, I'm not sure if it still comes on or not, but I thought that was kind of funny. There's a couple sassy ones like, did you call first? Or, there's no place like home, so why don't you go there? Or one that's pretty timely. It says, still practicing social distancing, or something like that. I thought that was funny. So, there's so many different options. And then you can also like monogram them if you want to give it as like a wedding present or a housewarming gift. If people are getting married, that's always really great. You can, you know, put the name. And then there's also, you know, seasonal ones. You can put a truck with pumpkins in it, or, you know, whatever. Happy fall, y'all. Or I've seen a lot, even people purchasing them. They say like, hey there, pumpkin, or something cute. And then this is the 18 by 30 mat. Obviously it's rectangular, but I also saw some that are half circles. I thought they were so fancy and fun. So you can always do that, and you can always cut it to size. It's really thick, so I don't know that you want to do that. But if you're crafty, you can. Or they sell them online. I think they were actually more expensive than these, but that's an option. Alright, I'm almost done weeding. Just depends on how much you do. It's taking a while today because I have so many letters, but it's going to be worth it when I put it on my mat. So, I just have a couple little paw prints. This is easy to design in Cricut because it's just a straight font. It didn't move around or anything when I entered it into the system, so I was really pleased with it. This is just a font that I found on dafont.com, dafont.com, and you can just download it, and then you probably need to reset your Cricut and then type it out. It won't really show up if you download it while you have the Cricut app open, but I did that, and then I just kind of like resized it a little bit to make it fit, because otherwise I would have had to use the mat twice, and you know that's complicated. Okay, so now I'm ready. So when I took it off the mat, it was a little bit stuck, so that's why it doesn't look the best, but it's okay. Okay, so that's all ready. I'm just gonna burnish it a little bit with my little Cricut tool. They make big burnishers. I brought my small one today, but I'm just gonna flatten it out a little bit. And I think the other kind of Oracal was like $6.51. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's kind of similar. And I've noticed that the numbers like 613 and 813 are pretty similar. Not really sure how Oracal does their number system, but I saw those and they were like really popular on the website that I purchased them on. Okay. I have a couple bubbles, but it's gonna be okay. Like I said, this one is a lot more forgiving than like a normal stencil that you would use. Like more forgiving than you would ever imagine, honestly. So. I'm just trying to get all the bubbles out that I can. When I pulled it up, it was just very stuck. So I used a regular green. Yeah, I think it's just regular. I forget. There's like light, medium. So I guess it was the medium matte. So maybe if you do this, use a light matte because it was a little bit more stuck than I expected. When I pulled it off, okay, there's a bubble, but that's okay because my letters still look okay. As long as your letters and your edges look okay, the rest is fine. That one's a little bit wrinkled, but we're gonna leave it. So a lot of times when you're doing like etching, if you have a bubble, you can take and cut it and then put it together and your lines will look straight. I don't really recommend it for this because it's really difficult to put on the mat. So put it on the mat first, and then if you need to fix it, do it. But if you have the lines, it's like really hard to put on the mat. So I don't recommend. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my contact paper to size. So I just need it to fit on here. So that'll be great. All right. Just size it up, figure out where you need to cut. I love the contact paper because it has those easy to follow lines. If you have a paper cutter, you can always use that to cut it. Today I just brought my scissors, that's fine. But just follow your lines. Right, just gonna set that to the side. And then I'll cut it the other way. Figure out how big you need it and cut it. It's hard to see it from the other side. So I'm just going to take and chop off the excess. So I can use that for something else. I definitely recommend shopping online for your vinyl. If you try and purchase it in the store, it's expensive. So definitely look online, find your deals. Some places have free shipping, so look on there. But don't pay too much for it because it's not worth it. First install. Okay, great. So I'm gonna set my vinyl to the side. And I'm going to take the backing off of the contact paper. And I'm just going to take it off. Okay. And now, here's a pro tip. You don't want it to be too sticky. That's why I don't recommend the transfer tape that like Cricut makes because it's so sticky, which is fabulous sometimes. But for this, because the vinyl doesn't stick too well to the mat, you want to be able to just transfer it. It's just used to take it from the backing onto your mat, and you don't want it to be too sticky. So I'm just taking, and you can do it on carpet, on a tablecloth, you can do it with a shirt, but kind of get some of the stickiness off of your contact paper. So I'm just like rubbing it on here, and it's grabbing some of the fibers. If my table wasn't completely covered, I could put it on there. I literally did it on my carpet at home. It's fine. Picked up a little bit of dog hair, but that was helpful. So I'm just trying to get some of the stickiness off. And for some reason, this contact paper is kind of like gluey, icky. So I'm doing it a little extra than I probably would. I don't know if it's like older contact paper or what, but it's so sticky. So I'm just taking and getting some of the stickiness off. And see, that's so sticky. So boop. Just rubbing it. Ah. Just shimmying it. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I might do one more. It does not have to be super sticky. Boop. So that should be good. Okay, so now I'm going to take and just put my contact paper to the side, just sticky side up, just so it won't get stuck to anything in your house, but just set it to the side. And take your masking tape, or painter's tape works too, and just put a little bit on the back. Try and don't put it over the words, because that's going to make it a little bit harder to take off. But this is just going to help us like place it down on our mats so that it doesn't move around a lot when we're trying to take the contact paper off and transfer it on. So I'm just going to put a little bit on each side. A little bit at the top. That'll help. And I'll put a little bit at the bottom. And then we'll be good. Okay, so now take your contact paper and we're just gonna put it on top of it. And some of my masking tape kind of rolled up, so I'm just kind of putting them down so they stay out my way. And sometimes people even take the contact paper and like tape it on before they take the backing off so that they know it's lined up. That is a little bit difficult with this because we don't want it to be too sticky, so I don't really recommend it. Okay, so I'm just going to take and try and lay it down as evenly as possible. Okay, that looks good. I'm telling you, this is not going to be a perfect process, nor does it have to be. So that's okay. Okay, so that's stuck on there. That's fabulous. Now, we need to take the backing off. So I flipped it over, and I'm going to burnish it a little bit. I'm using like a Cricut tool, but you can always take the edge of scissors and take the handle and rub it on there as well. So if you don't have a Cricut tool, totally possible and totally fine. Okay, so that should be pretty good. Now I need to take the backing off. The best way to take the backing off, grab your corner, and I just take and pull it at a diagonal. Do it slowly because you want to make sure all of your small pieces stay put to your transfer tape. And I just do it, keep it close to the mat. So you can see it's like very close to the mat, and like my piece of my R came up. So I'm just gonna fix it. Boop. Push it back down. Oh, that came up, but that was good. I missed those dots. I'll have to fix that. Part of my K is coming up, so I gotta push it back down. such a slow process, but you just have to take your time. Because you don't want to rip the vinyl. Also, you want it to kind of stay intact and keep its same shape. So if you pull it up too quickly, it might lose its shape or rip, and we definitely don't want that. There's ways to fix it if you do, but it's definitely easier to just take your time. If for some reason you pull it up and it does rip, but it's still like mostly in the right shape, you can just tape around it to make it look fine and keep it same edges on your stencil. Ooh, I'm almost there. Boom. Okay, so I'm done with that, but my little dots on the end accidentally left in place. So, I'm just gonna take them off. When you have a lot of details, you definitely have to go and look, make sure you catch them all. So, there we go. Okay, so now it's ready to put on. So I'm gonna line it up. You can measure it. I'm just gonna eyeball it today and kind of do my little, I take and put my hands together and go to the middle, try and find the middle of my design. I didn't bring my ruler, so I'm just gonna eyeball it. And you can even take like a paintbrush or a pencil, say, okay, it's that far off from there. And then if it's right there, then I need to move that up a little bit. So that should be lined up. And then I think it looks farther to that side than it does to that side. Yeah, definitely. So it needs to come over some. Yeah, and see, it'll get stuck. So that's fun and exciting. Now I'm gonna check it again. That's pretty good. And then if you can get up higher and see, sometimes I lay it out on the floor and then I can kind of see that it looks pretty straight. You just want to make sure. Now this is all contingent on you lining it up on your Cricut mat straight so that your words are lined on your vinyl. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to check it one more time. Make sure it lines up. I think it needs to go that way just a smidge. Just a smidgy smidge. Boop. I think I'm good. So I'm going to go ahead and push on my little masking tape down. In theory, it would stick. Because of the fibers, it doesn't stick all that well. So I'm telling you, it's going to take some patience, but we're going to get it done. Okay, so now I'm just going to start peeling it off. Like I said, it won't stick exactly how we want, but that's okay. Just gonna slowly, and I'm gonna do my trick again, where I take it from the corner and I just slowly peel it back close to the vinyl. And nice and easy. And you can always, I didn't burnish it on here. I don't think it helps a whole lot, but can try and burnish it. So just take and push it. It just doesn't stick super well to this mat, but you can burnish it. Just kind of have to move slowly. So just pull it off. And this is super important also because you don't want to stretch out your vinyl. You want to make sure all of your little pieces stay in place. So just move super slowly. sometimes I take and cut out sections. I might do that once I get further into this. Because sometimes if you're trying to watch too many sections at a time, it's a lot. And then also you don't want it to like start getting stuck to other places and make it harder on you. So just slowly pull it back. Your hand's gonna get stuck. So, if you know, like this is kind of similar to putting it on wood, where it doesn't stick super well because of the pores in the wood, but we make it happen. So it's kind of important to make sure your tape stays stuck because you don't want it to move around a whole lot. And we're gonna check it again once we're done, and then we're even gonna check it again once we get it in place outside if you're spray painting, because you can always fix it before you paint. Can't fix it after necessarily. So we're just gonna keep pulling. I might go ahead and cut. So I'm just gonna carefully cut off what I've already pulled back, just because it gets to be a lot to work with. So just cut that off, ball it up, throw it away. And then you can also take, because this is kind of pulling up everywhere, I might choose to, like cut down the middle. And then I can just work with one section. You want to be very careful when you do this to only cut your contact paper. You don't want to cut through your vinyl or press too hard. So we're slowly going to get it done. And I can even, I'll show you once I get down. I'll show you another trick. See, my O came up, but that's okay. You basically just want to be very careful though, because if it moves, you accidentally throw it away, or you ball it up and it's not, if it's crinkly, it's not going to work as well. So if you move slowly, you're able to catch those mistakes a little bit sooner, hopefully before it gets messed up, and you can correct it. So down here, I'm just making sure, I have like a lot of just blank vinyl space. I'm making sure that I get the parts around my letters cut, and then I can leave the rest of that contact paper in place because it doesn't matter. So that's a little bit less that I have to worry about. So I'm just going to take and trim it off, and easy squeezy, that section is done. Still have a lot more to do, but that's okay. So I'm just going to place that down. And I'm just going to keep peeling. Just kind of making sure my tape is still stuck. I might just try from this side. We can meet in the middle. If you have a ruler, sometimes that works really well to push it down as you go. So like peel off a little bit, stick it down. Peel off a little bit, stick it down. Kind of move it along with you. Oh, part of my K is not stuck. They are tricky creatures. So are the ends. As you move along, it just peels up a little bit. So, keep going. I'm actually going to trim some of this so I can focus on just the top line Once you get a little bit too much happening, it gets hard to make sure you're doing it all correctly. Oopsie. Okay, fantastic. Keep going. It's like the Nemo song. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Just keep peeling the contact paper. Put on a show. Put on some jams. Because this part can get a little bit stressful. Might use some colorful language. Just kidding. But yeah, definitely take your time. You will be mad at yourself if you just like rip it off and have to cut a whole new one. You can always just cut like one word, but sometimes it's hard to like place it all together. So just take your time. Also, this stuff is a little bit cheaper than some vinyl, but it's not super cheap, so you don't want to mess it up. And I'm just being careful that that doesn't get stuck to what I've already cut. So I'm going to trim it off because that's a lot to keep up with. I'm going to ball it up. You can see some of this has come up. I'm not too worried about it because I can lay it down and fix it. So I'm just going to keep going. Y'all, I promise it's worth it. I wouldn't necessarily rule out using cardstock and maybe some spray adhesive. Definitely wear gloves because spray adhesive is not easy to get off. I found that, I think it's olive oil or vegetable oil works, but definitely be careful with it because it gets everywhere. But I think that cardstock could work because this vinyl doesn't stick down super well anyway. I think it's an option. Haven't tried it, but probably will after this. Alright. In cardstock, you would just have to take more to make it fit on your mat. But again, anything is possible if you just believe, right? Okay, this is definitely not where I placed it initially, but that's okay. I'm going to keep going because I'm going to have to fix it anyway. But it is important to make sure that these are not stuck together. Alright, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Sorry I've said that a million times, but we're just going to persevere. Obviously, if you have a shorter saying or a smaller mat, it's a little bit easier. If you're new to doing vinyl, this is a lot to process. So I would definitely not do this as your first rodeo. Maybe your second, though. No, just kidding. If you are new to vinyl, definitely start out simple because this is a lot. I've been doing vinyl for 5 years maybe, and it's not difficult, but you do learn some tricks of the trade as you go along. So definitely don't, you're going to be upset with yourself if you start out with this project. And just go for it, so. Sometimes it's helpful to start from the beginning, like if you know you're going to try and split it up. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut along this line first so that I know that I'm only working with that section. Just going to peel it back. Y'all, we're almost there. I can see that we made a lot of progress. You can definitely fast forward through this part though if you're watching it back, because I know it's kind of boring. Sometimes if the little cutouts are like super small, the contact paper makes them so sticky. So you might have to use a piece of, or scissors or something metal always seems to work pretty well to get it stuck from your hands and back on the mat. It's still not going to stick to the mat super well, but at least it'll be in place. I'm just gonna keep going and singing to you all. This is such a fun project for fall as you're getting your porch decorated, making it look super cozy now that the temperatures are dropping. I know we're all appreciative, or at least I know I am. Everything's better in the fall. Okay. Boop. They also make these cute little, or you can also make them, the cute little like mats. It's like a mat thing that you can put under your doormat. So like as you change out your doormat, it still looks festive underneath. You can create those from scratch also. So if you're crafty like that, I'd recommend checking those out. Okay, we are almost there, friends. Just have to cut out the part that says love the dog. If your dog's like mine, she doesn't like when people knock or ring the bell, or even our Amazon guy was so quiet the other day and I was so excited, but he was bumping his music and that even scared my dog. It's like, well, that's new and exciting. So apparently that scares her too. So that's fun. Okay. Especially now that the holiday season is coming up. A lot of companies like to put the doorbells in the commercials. I think the dogs would like to protest against that. It always scares them. Alright, we're getting there, friends. Wheel. I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece off and then we can keep going, but it's kind of overwhelming to me at this point. That's a lot of stickiness right there. Boop. Okay, good. Y'all, I promise, once you get this done, smooth sailing. This part might make you want to cry a little bit, but it's okay. We're going to make it through. Like I said, put on a show, call a friend, although sometimes that stresses me out because I cannot focus when I'm trying to do both at one time. Doop-a-doop, and pull it off, pull it off. Alright. There's so many cute like doormats related to dogs or cats or kids. There's one that's like, there's a lot of dogs in here, just so you know. Or it's a zoo in here. Okay. Ah! See, it came off. We're going to put it back on and keep going. I know sometimes I'll get done. I'm like, where's the middle to the O? I have to look through all of my contact paper, make sure it's not stuck there. And then it ends up being stuck to my arm or something random. Never rule anything out. Sometimes, if I really can't find it, I end up cutting another one. I'll find it like days later. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can always go into the Cricut and select what like cutout you want, and then just cut that tiny little piece out of a small little bit of vinyl. Y'all, it's done. I feel like a queen. Okay, I'm telling you. That part's stressful, but we're okay. Alright, so now, there's a lot of different ways that people stick it on and like really get it to stay. I've seen where some people use a blow dryer, high heat, for like a couple seconds, and it'll kind of get it heated up and they can press it down. I honestly tried it. Kind of shrinks the vinyl. I did not have great success with it, and I found out that I didn't necessarily need to do it, so I don't do it anymore. But I have seen that trick, so if you have success, let me know, because I tried it like with one type of vinyl and it kind of worked, but I guess it needs to be that specific type of vinyl. I think that was like the permanent Cricut stuff. When I tried it the next time, it did not work. And you don't really need it. So, I skipped that step. Okay, so right now I'm just making sure all my little cutouts and all my little weird edges are stuck down. Before I do that, I'm actually going to check it and make sure it's lined up again, because it doesn't look like it's lined up. So I'm going to carefully scoot it. Try and not have your little centerpieces get stuck though. So I might kind of move them and then I'll put them back in, because otherwise I'm going to have to unstick them and that's not fun. I'm going to move them out of the way. Boom. Okay. Woof. The R. Okay. Sorry, I'm kooky. Okay. So the masking tape works fairly well, but when you're pulling it, because this one was so big, it just didn't necessarily do its job. That's okay. So now I'll just check it again. It looks like it might be a little bit low, so I'm going to move it up a little bit. Wee bit. That away. And I'm going to check it again, because why not? Check it. If you have a ruler, that works well. I did not bring one. That's okay. So it needs to be higher. And again, it helps if you can see it from up above. I'm short, so I can't see it. Boop. That is fine. Oops. And so you can see part of something. It's part of my R. It's stuck under there. Whoopsie. That's why it is helpful to pull them out of the way. Okay. I'm gonna just look at it one more time before I get super comfortable with it, because you don't want to have to do the work again and again and again. Check it. It's further that way. I'm just gonna look at it on camera. It actually doesn't look too bad. So I might just stop messing with it. Honestly, it's a homemade doormat. It's not gonna be completely perfect. We have to be realistic here. Okay. So I think I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm just going to put my little centers or cutouts back in my little letters, and then I'm going to push my masking tape down a little bit. Boop. And that's stuck in there too. So put your centers back in. Pay special attention to this. You're going to look at it here, and then if you move it outside to spray paint it, you're going to check them again. Because if they're a little bit off, if you're particular, like I am, you're going to notice and not be as pleased with it. So, definitely give them a good look over. So I'm going to put that there. I put that there. There. That in. That in. And I'm missing part of an R, I guess. So, it's probably somewhere. It's definitely somewhere. Because I moved it out of the way. Okay, anyway, I'm missing part of a letter, but that's okay. So I could either cut another one like I said, or I'm sure it's around here somewhere. I'll look for it some more. But I'm going to show you. So make sure it's all lined up. You can press it down. Not going to lie to you. It's not going to stick very well. But it's okay. People said that it's forgiving. And let me tell you, it really is. So I'm going to show you the two ways that you can do this. You can use outdoor acrylic paint. And I brought a couple different brushes today. So I brought like a kind of stencil-y coarse brush that you use for most stenciling. And then I brought this really I'm sorry, I don't know the exact name. But it's a loose brush. It has soft bristles. And I'm telling you, that's the way to go. Because it's super soft. You wouldn't think it's the way to go, but it is. So, get you outdoor acrylic paint. It took me 2 for my Come On In one. That's the one that I did with the outdoor acrylic paint that I hand painted on there. The other one I sprayed with the Flex Seal. But outdoor acrylic paint, it took me 2. So if you have a lot of letters, I recommend at least 2 or 3 just to make sure you have enough. And I'm going to tell you a pro tip. Grab the bottom of it with one hand, the top of it with another hand, twist opposite directions. Boom, got your top off. Okay, so now just put some on a piece of paper or plate, plastic plate holder, something, it'll work. And then just take and dab it, and I'm telling you, it stays on here. So just take and just do it flat, but I know it's not stuck and it doesn't matter. So you're just gonna start dabbing. Now, let me tell you, I highly, 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 highly recommend the Flex Seal. It took me hours to do the Come On In one when I hand painted it. With the Flex Seal, it takes like 5 minutes. So, it's like 13 bucks. You can find it at like a home improvement store. I found it in like the paint section, but I know there's like sealing, so a rubber sealant kind of deal. So it's in that section, but you can always look it up online. It could tell you which aisle it's in. I didn't find it there, but I did ask somebody finally after I gave up, and I was able to find it. Because this process takes forever. Like literally, if you're gonna do it, you can do it. But I took a towel and laid it down because my hand or my arm was like so tired of going into the bristles. So I just took a towel and laid it on there and kept dabbing my little heart out. So put a good show on at least, or call a friend during that portion. But you can do it. With this, it definitely takes like a couple times of going over it. You maybe need like one good coat, and then you have to go back and fix it and go like parts where it soaks in, then you can see it a little bit in the top portion. Just keep going, check it over. So that's definitely an option. You just keep going, keep going. Got my hand. And when it comes to doing the ones with cutouts, just kind of make sure it's in place again, and just kind of, I hold it at first, and then once it gets a little bit wet, it kind of stays in place. But just be careful. But I had like really small ones on the Come On In, and they were not stuck. I imagine it looking terrible when I took the vinyl off, but it actually was fabulous. So because it's so coarse, the way the material is made, it really doesn't bleed a whole lot. So I'm telling you, I was amazed. Okay, so I'm just going to do the G for you guys today because this is boring. But you can definitely just sit down and go to town, paint your little heart out. Or what you can do is, so you have your stencil on there, but you're going to spray paint. So what you want to do, take some computer paper and some masking tape. And you can cut it to size. But basically just make sure all of your edges that you don't want to spray paint are covered. So just take computer paper. Again, it's not going to stick super well. You can cut it to size also. But I don't want to bore you guys to death. You can cut it. Boop. Just cut it a little bit. And place it over. Cover all of your edges. Boop, boop, boop. Cover all of them. And then carefully pick it up. You want to make sure it's not super windy outside, obviously, or not raining. But take it outside. Find a space that if you get a little bit of overspray or if it's a little bit windy and it blows, it's not going to mess it up. Definitely avoid being around vehicles or anything like that. But spray it on. It really just takes one good coat. But make sure all of your little pieces are in place. And you want to make sure you shake it up first. And then you hold it nice and flat and spray it evenly onto your stencil. Because if you're spraying it at an angle, it might bleed. But otherwise, it's stuck well enough and it's covering enough area that it's going to look fabulous once you get it done. So spray that on nice and flat. Let it sit for about 15 minutes. And then carefully, probably with gloves on, if you care about getting your hands dirty, put some gloves on, and then take it off carefully. Now, you want to do that nice and easy because some of it might be like stuck on there, puddled up, and it might splatter onto your mat once you go to pick it up. If that happens, it's not the end of the world. You don't want to get a whole lot on there. But if it does, you can take smaller scissors. I recommend like cloth scissors or something like that. And you can kind of pick a little bit of the little fibers up and kind of trim it off. Or if you like kind of move it around, it'll start loosening it up, and then you can kind of trim it off. It's not ruined, but definitely be careful. So once that's completely dry, and it's important to take it off like 15 minutes after because the Flex Seal seals things to one another. So you want to make sure that your vinyl does not get stuck onto your mat. Pro tip. But definitely just take it off, throw that away, and then let it sit and dry. It'll dry pretty quickly. Make sure it's completely dry, and then you can seal it if you're happy with it with an outdoor sealant. So definitely recommend that. You can even get the UV protected if it's going to be outside all the time, which it will because it's a doormat. So I definitely recommend that. And the outdoor acrylic paint is great also if you want to take and hand paint it because it comes in a variety of colors. So like I said, if you're doing the happy fall y'all with a truck and pumpkins, you can make it red or you can make it orange and that will look really great. So I think that's all I have for you guys today. If you make it, definitely take a picture and post it on social media and like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter or Instagram. And then definitely subscribe to our channel so that you can see other great programs like this. Have a great day.